achieved.
So, breaking news, and very rarely do I actually get to break news, and probably by the time you're listening to this, it's not breaking news anymore, but as of a few minutes ago, it appears there's an announcement coming regarding Georges St-Pierre, the future of his career. It would appear that George is going to call a press conference tomorrow in Montreal, tomorrow being the 21st of February 2019, to officially announce the end of his professional fighting career. Mixed emotions. I'm a huge George fan. I followed him all throughout his career, as many of us did, and I'm glad to see that he's making a definitive decision. I don't like it when fighters linger about this on-again, off-again scenario. Maybe I'll fight, maybe I won't. I'm retired. No, I'm not. You know, I know the desire to continue competing is there. I like the fact that George is getting to go out on top as a two-time or a multiple division champion, and now, it would appear that they were attempting to procure a matchup with Khabib Nurmagomedov. That fell through, and that ultimately was what he wanted, and the only thing he wanted, leading to him saying it's time to walk away. If that is the case, and it appears to be the case, thank you very much, George, for everything. It's been a great honor to predict fights and look at fights, and he's just been a fantastic ambassador for the sport. And as much as we'll miss him, I look forward to seeing what he does in the future with his whatever he opts to do, whether it be in the public light or not. Welcome back to Kamikaze Overdrive MMA Predictions. As always, I am your host, Scott Johnson, and on this episode of the show, we are breaking down the upcoming UFC Fight Night 145 event, which will take place in Prague, Czech Republic, and will feature 6 main card fights that I'll be breaking down for you. The rest of the preliminary fights will be available at kamikazeoverdrive.net, so please check them out. I can keep in mind this event's transpiring. It's I think 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, at least where I am. So it's an afternoon event, so don't miss out on it for that reason because you're unaware or unprepared. I'm coming off a 6-6 night. Again, it wasn't a great night overall for my predictions. I did pick up a little bit of cash. My CBC was a profitable night. I had a nice little parlay of Villante Lucie inside the distance, Velasquez Ngannou under 1.5, and Kron Gracie to win by submission, which paid off. I had a couple other picks. Overall, it didn't produce the way I was hoping it would. A little bit disappointed that way. But, again, I'm trying to recalibrate. I'm off to a slump. Admittedly, I'm slumping to start the 2019 year. So, for my record this year, 26-23. Absolutely atrocious. A far cry from my 296-166 record last year. We're going to try and get things back in working order. I try and make sure I reevaluate and look at things. And again, I had somebody comment on one of my last videos. I made a nasty comment regarding how much I suck at predicting. And honestly, right now I'm struggling, and I do suck at predicting at the moment. But at the same time, it's like the guy said he looked back at a couple of my events and saw how poorly I predicted. I'm like, how about you look back at, the second half of 2018 from like June to basically the end of the year where I was doing extremely well and predicting 8, 9, 10, 11 winners per night. Never a perfect card, but very much right there. Again, I don't like to toot my own horn, but at least I will defend myself in the work I put in. I very much enjoy doing this, and hey, part of the business is being wrong. And when you're willing to stick your neck out and predict all the fights, not just cherry pick 1 or 2, it's going to happen, quite frequently if you do it long enough. I've been doing it for almost 10 years, so I've had my fair share of bad times. I know things will get better again. On that note, make sure you follow me at KO_predictions. I like to post shit as much as possible, and you get all the updates I post as soon as they're up there. But let's get to that first main card prediction. So our first fight of the night transpires in the UFC's 205-pound division, the light heavyweights, as Magomed Ankalaev, 10-1, takes on the debuting 14-2 Klidson de Abreu. Coming into this fight, Ankalaev rebounded from a shocking debut defeat. The first loss of his career, he was submitted by Paul Craig at the final second in a fight he'd absolutely dominated. He stopped Marcin Prachnio in the opening round of their last matchup. For Abreu, as I said, he's debuting. He's replacing Darko Stosic with about a month to prepare for this fight. He last fought under the M1 banner back in November. Now, physically, these guys are the same age. Ankalaev is an inch taller, and Abreu actually has formerly fought at heavyweight. He's not. It's one of those things. He's more appropriate for the light heavyweight division as far as that is concerned. So the first question with new fighters is that depth of competition. You have to look at these guys and say, okay, what do they bring to the table? What have they done in the past? He does have a 2015 win over Johnny Walker by submission, Walker making waves in the light heavyweight division as well. His last 3 opponents are a combined 52-20, so experienced and winning records. Again, that doesn't mean much if they're can-crushing on the regional scene, but still, at least he's not fighting guys that are 4-65. He's not fighting the cans. Maybe he's fighting and defeating the can crushers, but either way, that's who he's faced. Now, it is worth noting that he submitted all 3 of them, and they have a combined 11 losses by submission, including the 3 that he put on the records. One opponent did get submitted 7 times, so it's not like they're all guys that are getting tapped at 3-4 times. All 14 of his stoppage victories, all 14 of his wins have come by stoppage, 10 by submission, 8 in the first round, and both of his losses have come by TKO in round 3. So it tells us a little bit that he might fade a little bit as fights go, and that leaves him vulnerable to a late stoppage. Now, as far as what he does in the cage, he does a good job of striking and then changing levels for a double leg takedown. I like the way I saw he set up his offense, and he will slam opponents. He's got, I'd say, above average wrestling based on what I've seen. Body lock and slams. He also times leg kicks fairly well, and will shoot in for a takedown off the leg kick. Once on the mat, look for him to advance quickly. In fact, he's very good at advancing during the takedown and getting to side control. He's got a good back take. He'll transition quickly to that position, and it can lead to a rear naked choke, which is one of his go-to moves. He has good control on the mat, doesn't rush at times. Once he gets there, if he doesn't have to see that transition right away, he will kind of establish his control. At the same time, we have seen him lose position in the past and wind up on his back. He does have an active guard as well. He will go to his back trying to lure opponents in, but a lot of jiu-jitsu guys are like that. He will attack off his back, chain submission attacks together. He will attack legs. He will attack arms. He will do just about all of it. Now, Nemkov got on top. Nemkov, one of the guys that has recently fought and lost to Abreu, got on top after a knockdown and was landing hard ground and pound and was really doing well until the referee stood him up. He has lots of single strikes, and that's worth noting. Now, as far as his vertical offense, he has lots of single strikes. He looked a little sluggish on the feet once they get back up in that situation, and he will swing a little bit wild. Ultimately, his goal is to initiate a clinch, initiate a tie-up, initiate a scramble, and get the fight into his realm, which is jiu-jitsu on the mat. Now, for Ankalaev, the first thing that comes to mind when you look at this pairing is that he lost his debut fight by submission. And he couldn't hold on for that final second that would have got him a decision victory. Now, he is a master in Sambo. He has a Greco-Roman wrestling background. He trained for 1 year, competed 1 year in college. 6 wins by knockout, 5 wins by decision, no submission wins on his record. So that's worth noting as well. On the mat, he has vicious ground and pound. Loves to really jam his opponent into the ground and smash them. He's actually yet to land an official takedown in the UFC. He has had takedowns, they just didn't count them. He had one where it was a counter to being taken down, where he got back up and put his opponent on the mat. And that seems to be his MO, his response to getting put on the mat. After being taken down, he likes to kind of work his way back up to his knees and look for his own takedown. At the same time, I don't like the way he exposes himself. He seems to expose his neck when he's doing this, and he's very unaware of the threat that exists from a guy who can submit you, and that could be a big issue against Abreu. Now, Paul Craig, who's not a world beater as far as a wrestler is concerned, he's got good grappling, took him down twice. A nice single leg trip takedown, which put Ankalaev on his back, and we even saw Craig at times pass a side control. So it wasn't just the submission in that fight that has red flags popping up, it was the fact that Craig had some success putting him down. Craig later in the fight used a double leg to put him on his back. We did see Magomed get back to his feet shortly thereafter, but still he's being taken down, so that possibility is there. On the feet, Ankalaev has good pop in his hands. He will throw in flurries. When his opponent steps in, he responds in kind with a good barrage of strikes. He's got a hard body kick, and he'll work a head kick in as well, which led to the Prakniau finish. Ultimately, in this fight, Ankalaev absolutely wants to keep it standing, utilize his striking. Abreu's going to throw, but again, it's not his strength. He will trade, but he's looking to tie up. Abreu's takedowns are decent. They're opportunistic. He has good timing on his entries, and that is dangerous for a guy who will open up and engage. And as far as I'm concerned, if Paul Craig took Magomed Ankalaev down twice, there's a legit possibility that Abreu could get him down as well. The bigger concern for me is that Abreu is so capable of capitalizing on just one takedown opportunity or one mistake by Ankalaev on the mat. He quickly advances, he gets to the back, and he shuts things down. I don't like the way Ankalaev exposes himself when he gets up from being taken down. Even after getting taken down and surviving that situation, he tends to open himself up when he gets up. It's not a good thing. I think Abreu is going to shock us here. I probably will be in the minority here, but I think Klidson catches him at some point and jumps on a submission, and my prediction is Klidson de Abreu to defeat Magomed Ankalaev by submission. Fight number 2 in the main card transpires in the UFC's bantamweight division. His former flyweight title challenger, the 9th-ranked John the Magician Dodson, 21-10-0, takes on the 14th-ranked Petr No Mercy Gian with an impressive record of 10 wins and 1 defeat. Now, Gian is 3-0 in the UFC, including a finish of Douglas D'Andrade. He has 2 finishes overall and a very entertaining scrap in his other fight. He has won 6 in a row. For John Dodson, he has alternated wins and losses over his last 8. And when you look at the guys that have beat him, Jimmy Rivera, Marlon Moraes, and John Lineker, and of course Demetrius Johnson in his last title fight, all elite level, top-ranked guys. So he's not losing to scrubs, despite the fact his record is not overly awesome in recent bouts. Physically, Gian 4 inches taller than Dodson. He'll have a 1-inch reach advantage, and he's the younger fighter by 9 years. So what we have here is a very severe contrast in styles. Gian is an aggressive boxer versus Dodson, an elusive power puncher. Dodson's style, unfortunately, is not holding up as well as it used to. as age creeps in. He, when at his best, he avoids takedowns, remains elusive, and lands power strikes and either outworks his opponent because they can't hit him, or he knocks them out with power. Unfortunately, his record is indicative of a guy who is vulnerable to not getting finishes. He is 9-10 in decisions, 2-3 in his last 5 fights to go the distance, including a record of 1 win and 2 losses in splits over that 5-fight stint. He's very quick, he has good footwork, he's got big power in his left hand, but he backs up a lot. He's a capable counter-striker, but he gives up a lot of ground. He does his best work when he's darting forward and engaging, utilizing his speed, utilizing his footwork. He's effective when he slips and throws. He has a really nice technique of slapping with his right hand to kind of drop the guard of his opponent, and then moving in to, boom, land. He moves to his right and fires that left right down the channel. And if that lands, it's incredibly effective. It's just not happening enough. He throws some good inside leg kicks, again, throws combinations of the kicks as well, but again, not enough volume. When you look at the guys that beat him, John Lineker, Jimmy Rivera, and even Pedro Munoz, a guy he defeated, all use pressure very effectively against Dodson to find success. He will slow down a little bit now. He's more hittable when he does, and he throws less offense. Enter Petr Yan. Petr Yan has good punching combinations. He's a very talented and capable boxer. He wants to work in the pocket and rip offense at you. He has good volume, and he's durable. He switches stances, constant forward pressure, and good distance management. He slips just out of range, returns to range, and lets his offense go. He does his best work when his opponent is willing to stand and trade with him, which is something Dodson probably won't do. He landed 100 significant strikes against Son in a very entertaining bout. He landed 78 against Gian before finishing him. He throws lots of feints, which is very crucial to have success against Dodson because it forces him to react and makes him less effective. He lands really well by forcing his opponent to react to those offense and then throws. He throws a nice straight left. He will snap it out quickly and just can put a lot of damage on an opponent when it does come through and connect. On the flip side of things, I don't so much like the way he shells up when he's under fire, but again, it can be effective if he avoids taking damage if his opponent lands and then backs off. He does keep his hands up very well when trading, which is something I do like as far as his defense is concerned, and will be crucial to keep Dodson from landing that big one-punch finisher. As far as I'm concerned, John Dodson simply doesn't offer enough volume against an opponent that will come forward and can hit him. Has Dodson slowed down a step? Absolutely. It would appear he's not quite as quick as he used to be. Yan is aggressive. He throws in combinations, and he's quick enough to keep up with Dodson. Might not be as quick as Dodson, but he's quick enough to keep up. Forward pressure is going to create the issues for Dodson. It's going to make him back up. It's not going to weigh well with the judges. And again, Dodson hasn't showcased that one-punch fight-ending power in a while. The last one, I think, Manny Gambarian a couple of years ago. Yan's style will weigh much better with the judges, especially judges on foreign soil against American. And unless Dodson gets the stoppage, he's going to struggle here. It could very well come down to a split decision, but ultimately I think Petr Yan's going to do more. So my prediction is Petr Yan to defeat John Dodson by decision. One of 2 female fights to make this event takes place in the women's flyweight division as the former bantamweight title challenger, the 6th-ranked Liz Gorilla Carmouche, 11-6-0, takes on the Czech Republic's own 14th-ranked Lucie Pudilova, currently with a record of 8 wins and 2 losses. Now, Pudilova is fighting at home in the Czech Republic for the first time since 2016, where she's coming off a split decision loss to Irene Aldana. And overall, she is 2-2 inside the octagon. For Carmouche, she is 3-1 in her last 4 fights, 1-1 in split decisions. She is coming off her first flyweight victory, which came over Jennifer Maia. She lost to Alexis Davis in her flyweight debut. Now, Pudilova, she is returning to 125 pounds. She fought there several years ago, earlier in her career. She is the taller fighter by 2 inches. She'll have a 1-inch reach advantage, and she is 10 years younger than Liz. Now, Pudilova absolutely in this fight wants to keep the action standing. Utilize her striking. She's very active. She's scrappy. She gets in there and trades, and she's willing to take damage to dish it out, and that's just her method of operation, how she can be effective. She throws pretty good volume. Again, she has to stay vertical. Against Aldana in a fight she lost, she landed 105 strikes. In another fight she lost against Lena Landsberg, she landed 99. Now, on the flip side of things, the concerning factor here is that she's been taken down in fights. She was taken down early by Sarah Morris, spent a lot of time on her back early in that fight, didn't do much. She simply held on. She was ultimately bailed out by a very poor referee stand-up. Morris was doing plenty of work to stay in that position, and Pudilova got back up. She also was aided in that fight by Sarah doesn't have the greatest cardio. She failed a little bit, and Pudilova was able to capitalize. Additionally, in that matchup, we saw some very questionable decisions, some questionable fight IQ. Against a grappler who was struggling in the feet, she dove into Morris's guard and had to fend off multiple submission attempts, was caught in triangles and arm bars, and nearly cost herself a fight that was very winnable at that point in time. Now, for Carmouche, she comes from a wrestling and jiu-jitsu background. She has taken down every single one of her UFC and Strikeforce opponents, with the exception being Ronda Rousey in her history-making title fight. She has 22 takedowns over her last 7 appearances, 12 in 4 wins during that time, and 10 in 3 losses. She needs to make the best out of her positional control. Once she gets her opponent down, which seems like an inevitability, if she can make the best of that position, she usually wins those fights. As far as her takedowns are concerned, look for that body lock and slam variety. She's physically very strong, and once she gets to the mat, heavy ground and pound. She's good at getting into side control and going to work and passing her opponent's guard, getting into that mount position, and really hammering down offense. I like the way she'll punch her way into the clinch and to set up her takedowns, and she does a good job of timing her offensive bursts to, again, close that distance. Especially, and again, watch for this in the later portions of very close rounds. She will look for that opportunistic takedown to really seal the deal with the judges. Now, at times she can be inactive on the feet and let her opponent come forward and kind of dictate the exchanges. She has faded a little bit against Chukagian. She faded a little bit in that fight, and this could be Pudilova's opening. If she can just stay active and avoid the takedowns, that's going to be her opportunity to really impress the judges and win this fight. Pudilova is fighting at home, and again, if she stays vertical, she can definitely take a decision with her pace and volume and just a general striking advantage. But for Carmouche, at 125 pounds, she is a monster. She is a physical beast and certainly has the ability to grind this fight out. Her takedowns have simply been too consistent to deny that it's going to happen again. Especially against better wrestlers, people more capable of staying vertical, she's taken them down. So she should be able to take Pudilova down here. She looked physically very strong against Maya. I think she's going to find success pinning Pudilova along the cage, doing damage, getting her on the mat, doing damage. She could very easily get a ground and pound finish or a submission finish here, but my prediction is Liz Carmouche to defeat Lucie Pudilova by decision. In the UFC's light heavyweight division, Gian Villante, 17-10-0, takes on Poland's own Michal Oleksiejczuk with a current record of 13 wins and 2 defeats. Now, Oleksiejczuk made his debut, won a decision over Khalil Roundtree in a bit of an upset, but it was ultimately overturned due to a banned substance, and he's finally coming back to action. He is coming off a 9-win streak prior to the no contest, so a very impressive run. For Villante, he most recently picked up a split decision victory over Ed Herman. He has been involved in 4 consecutive split decisions. So again, Villante coming off 4 straight split decisions. He is 2-2 overall, so definitely having trouble distancing himself in fights, but still very entertaining scraps. Physically, John's the bigger man, 3 inches taller. He'll have a 2-inch reach advantage, but he's also 10 years older, and as I mentioned, Oleksiejczuk has been out of action for 14 months. Now, the Polish fighter, he survived the opening round with Khalil Roundtree, who's an absolute animal. He was bloodied, he was battered, but Khalil faded, and we saw Michal overtake him and completely take control of that fight. Now, the guy comes from a good camp. He trains with Jan Blachowicz. He trains with Marcin Tybura. He trains with Daniel Omielanczuk, so very good Polish fighters. They are all big guys, and they have good UFC experience. So he comes from a good camp. The guy's not a big light heavyweight. I actually like it. It works for him. He could probably make middleweight if he wanted to, but he doesn't deplete himself and drain himself to get down to 105 pounds. He's a good pressure-based fighter. He keeps pressing forward, engaging his opponents. He can overwhelm them with pressure and volume, and he's got a lot of finishes as a result. He doesn't throw a ton of power behind his strikes. He's more tactical, half-powered, almost Diaz-like offense. Mixes his offense up well. He'll go to the body very effectively. And when we saw Roundtree looking for that home run shot, and instead Omielanczuk's just popping away at him here and there. Oleksiejczuk, sorry, is popping away at him here and there, landing shots and just putting up the good offense. He landed 76 significant strikes in that fight, 33 in round 1, 36 in round 2. He only landed 7 in the third round, which came down to some takedowns as a little bit of a stall tactic, but still he put up some good offense. For Villante, when you look at his record, he's 5-6 in decisions. So this recent stretch of split decisions, it's not an aberration. It is something that has been an issue throughout his career. He has multiple split decisions on his record, and again, it's indicative of his style. In his last 3 fights, the striking difference has been almost negligible. -3, so Herman landed 3 more strikes than he did. Alvey landed 3 more strikes, and Francis Barbosa, they were even. So again, he's not able to distance himself. At the same time, he's taking a lot of damage. He's dishing it out as well. His cardio is not great. He tends to fade. He's a former heavyweight. He has talked about being tired of cutting to 205 and wanting to go back up to 265. He's one of those guys who would probably do well from like from a mid-ground division where his weight class is like 225 pounds. Villante, he is at his best when he remains technical. He works his jab and he throws his leg kicks and then fires power behind. Unfortunately, and we saw in the Ed Herman, he was simply throwing bombs, got drawn into a firefight. Lots of power. He did hurt Herman. He couldn't get him out of there, and the fight became extremely close. Also, Villante, while he does take a lot of damage, his chin isn't great. He's been stopped 4 times in his career. Shogun Hua finished him. We saw that fight with Tom Lawler stopping him as well. And again against Safarov, a fight that Villante was way ahead of. Safarov rocked him and nearly finished him as well. So his chin is certainly there, and that is further complicated by when he starts to slow down. I don't like the way Michal Oleksiejczuk is willing to eat strikes, especially if Villante is able to hurt him early and put him away. I do like the way he's able to keep popping away, that constant flow of offense, take the best his opponent offers, and then take the fight over. Villante's history of fading and his bad records in decisions is concerning, especially when considering that he's traveling and fighting basically an away game. He's fighting a European fighter in Europe. The travel factor could further diminish his cardio and ability to take damage. He needs to get him out of there quickly if he's going to win this fight. Oleksiejczuk, he weathers an early storm in this fight. He keeps attacking as Villante fades. He throws ineffective, not ineffective power, but at least, Villante, that's what I was trying to say. Villante will throw ineffective power strikes that will just miss the mark and further drain him. And my prediction is Michal Oleksiejczuk to defeat Gian Villante by TKO. In the co-main event of the evening, we're in the UFC's heavyweight division as Stefan Skyscraper Struve, fighting out of the Netherlands, 32-11-0, takes on Marcos Rogerio de Lima, Paisao, affectionately known, fighting out of Brazil, the current record of 16 wins, 6 losses, and 1 draw. Now, de Lima made the jump or the return to heavyweight, beating his last opponent in a return to the division. He's alternated wins and losses over his last 7. For Struve, he has lost 3 consecutive fights. He did have a very solid 3-1 run, but most recently losing a TKO defeat against Alexander Volkov, and then decision losses to Andrei Arlovsky and Marcin Tybura. Struve is a massive man, 6'11", nearly 7 feet tall. He is almost a foot, 10 inches taller than de Lima. He'll have a 9-inch reach advantage, and he's actually the younger fighter by 3 years, despite the fact he's been around for so long. Now, de Lima competed at on the Ultimate Fighter at heavyweight, which isn't uncommon because of the cutting weight issues that guys would go up a division or 2 to fight and not drain themselves as much. He's also fought at light heavyweight in the UFC and been relatively effective. He's an incredibly thick fighter. He's not a big heavyweight, but he's very thick, which makes it difficult for him to get down to 205. On his career, he has finished 14 of 16 victories, 11 in the first round. Now, his record outside of the first round is not great, 4-3-1 beyond round 1, and he is 1-4 in his last 5 fights to go outside of that round. He is coming off a victory in a fight that went the distance. Again, but you look at Vicente Luque, another fighter, he found out, he has made adjustments and been able to figure out what worked for him and what wasn't working for him outside of the first round, and he's winning fights as a result. We'll see if de Lima can do something similar. Now, his last opponent's worth noting, he took that fight on 2 weeks' notice. Didn't seem prepared, gave up position, was exhausted, and de Lima capitalized. When de Lima's at his best, he's a devastating Muay Thai striker, brutalizing heavy low kicks, massive overhand right as well. He'll throw a nice 1-2 combo and finish it with a chopping low kick that really, immobilizes his opponent if it lands correctly. Now, he has had issues reaching longer opponents at times and coming up short with strikes, and he will get wild in pursuit of the big shots if he can't connect with regularity. We've also seen a bit of vulnerability on the mat. He has 3 in fights ending by submission, with each of his last 3 defeats coming by tap out. Now, in his last matchup, he did find success on the mat. He was taken down early, but eventually he got on top. He used pressure. He was able to, get in a position to at least control the spot and win points. He seemed very takedown-oriented in that fight, despite having a marked striking advantage, which was really concerning to a lot of people seeing him go out of his element, but it ultimately worked. Now, for Stefan Struve, the man has a massive reach advantage over most of his opponents, but he doesn't always use it effectively. He's improved with it. He's done better to do so. He must do so here. He has the tools to be a contender. He has all those things. He's, size-wise, he's huge. He's a very capable submission fighter. His striking is good, but he can't seem to put it all together. In a fight against a similar physical opponent in Daniel Oleksiejczuk, he utilized a kick-heavy attack, front kicks to the body to keep him at distance, and it worked fairly well. He likes to work trip takedowns from the clinch once his opponent does close that distance. He uses his length on the ground to tie up his opponents and control them, where he spreads himself out, which is a very effective way to do things. He will go for takedowns from the clinch if the opportunity presents itself, and I like that here. Once on top, look for him to flatten his foe out, use that size, and eventually transition to a position where he can get the finish. Probably the back is most likely, or an arm triangle choke. Struve, in this fight again, he needs to use his length to keep de Lima out of range and force him to open up in a launch forward looking to make connections. Struve could find success taking de Lima down, most likely from the clinch position with trips. De Lima's submission defense is very questionable, and if he starts to slow down because he has a poor record as of the first round, that is the concern. Struve has been knocked out on several occasions, so if de Lima is able to reach him and connect, it could be lights out. It might only take 1 punch. Ultimately, I think in this fight, Struve will get to a dominant position on the mat, or possibly catch him from the guard if Lima jumps in, makes a similar mistake to what he did, or does something what he did similar to the last fight where he opts to operate from top position and makes a mistake. But my prediction, Stefan Struve to defeat Marcos Rogerio de Lima by submission. We move now to the main event of the evening in the UFC's light heavyweight division as the 4th-ranked Gian Blachowicz, 22-7-0, fighting out of Poland, takes on Brazil's Thiago Santos, currently ranked 6th in the division with a record of 19 wins and 6 defeats. Now, both fighters are making some noise at light heavyweight, and with John Jones fighting Anthony Smith coming up, and Santos has a win over Smith actually at middleweight, there is potential for a future title shot for the winner of this contest. Now, Santos has won back-to-back fights at light heavyweight, most recently stopping Jimmy Manuwa in a one hell of a fight. For Blachowicz, he has won 4 consecutive bouts, a decision win over Manuwa and Jared Cannonier, and then submitted both Nikita Krylov and Clark, another opponent. I was blanking on that one. He had lost 4 of his previous 5 fights before this current streak, so he's turned it around significantly. Both men 6'2", 2-inch reach advantage for Santos, who's coming up from middleweight previously, and 1 year younger. Now, how's Blachowicz, first and foremost, how has he pulled himself out of a bad slump? He has been fighting smart, and he has been capitalizing on his opponent's vulnerabilities. He has landed takedowns in each of his 4 victories. Over his slump, he landed 2 takedowns total over those 4 defeats. So he is showing, making adjustments that he needs to make. Against Jared Cannonier, he exploited his defensive gaps and was able to put him on the mat and grinded a win. Against Nikita Krylov, he reversed an early takedown, got on top, used heavy chest pressure, controlled him. Again, takedown in round 2, heavy chest pressure, got a submission. Very impressive performance. Blachowicz, he's always been durable, which is also something he's capitalizing on more and more now. And when his opponents start to fail and falter, he takes over. Jimmy Manuwa, Blachowicz was able to land 97 strikes in the rematch and defeat him in a very impressive decision victory. He landed 98 strikes against Igor Pokrayets in another victory. The type of victories that you need to pick up against guys that, if you're going to make a run, you got to be able to beat these guys. When he fought Manuwa, he actually dropped him early with a sequence of counter strikes, specifically coming from the right side. He likes to push forward behind those multiple punches, and he's got a very sneaky uppercut, which I really like to see him mix in. On the flip side of things, Manuwa is a very dangerous striker, and we saw Blachowicz backtracking and getting hit and had his back to the cage, which isn't something I like to see too often. He was looking to counter maybe a little bit too much, but again, he was having success and he won the fight. Manuwa was having success in that fight with kicks, which is also worth noting against a guy like Santos, who kicks like a motherfucker. Blachowicz also doesn't have the best gas tank either. We've seen him slow down against Patrick Cummins, a fight he nearly finished in the opening round, and then gassed, and Cummins took it over with his wrestling. Now, for Thiago Santos, the Brazilian is absolutely lethal with his kicks, especially at distance. He will work up and down the body and can finish you almost anywhere he can hit you. He's also very good inside in the clinch, landing knees and elbow strikes. He has those brutal body kicks. He'll throw stepping knees. He throws some decent straight punches. He leaves his chin open a little bit when he is engaging, and that has been an issue. And it's easy to see that his punching aspect of his striking is the secondary part compared to the kicking portion. He has showcased his ground skills as well, most recently in that win over Holland, where he was able to take him down and control the position and grind out a decision. He can threaten with submissions as well. He's got some decent takedown defense, and he can counter in a top position if you make a mistake and land some hellacious ground and pound and make you pay for your issues. On the flip side of things, he gets a little bit too wild. He can be over-aggressive. It opens himself up to taking damage. And he will attempt some high-risk maneuvers, some spinning kicks, and if they don't land, it could wind him up on the mat, which is a major concern. When he fought Eric Anders in a fight in their main event fight, he was fending off some early clinch attacks, but Anders was eventually able to take him down, and we've seen Santos with issues on the mat. Cesar Ferreira was able to submit him. Gegard Mousasi was able to stop him on the mat as well, and I believe, if I remember correctly, David Branch stopped him with a clinch-based strike again in that grappling portion of the exchanges. Santos' gas tank is good, but he's so damn aggressive that it will fade. He was fading in round 3. He is giving up takedowns to a non-wrestler, but ultimately Anders was spent and couldn't continue after the 3rd round. But it's worth noting he took that fight on very short notice, and he was fighting at 205 pounds, carrying a lot more weight than he's used to at 185 pounds, and that probably led to his inability to continue. Oh, Santos also kicked his ass. They both kicked the shit out of each other, but you know what I'm saying. For Manuwa, when he fought Santos, he found success controlling him in the clinch, and that could be because he's a bigger light heavyweight like Blachowicz, and that could be a factor here. Santos traded with Manuwa. Both took a lot of damage. He proved to be more durable. The question is he more durable than Gian? Is that type of strategy going to work for him? Neither man's gone a full 5 rounds, and neither man has an amazing gas tank, but Santos' best weapons are not suited for a 5-round fight. He will tire, he will take damage, he will lose position. He can't keep doing what he's doing for 5 rounds and be effective. For Gian, He's very good at stalling fighters out, can control them in the clinch. He will score takedowns and control them from top position. He's got good, he's got good top position control. He can land ground and pound, or he can even set up a submission, as we saw with Krylov. I love the way Santos fights. I am so excited to see him fight. It breaks my heart to bet against him here. But Gian has been short-circuiting explosive strikers on his current win streak. Manoa, Krylov, Cannonier, using things against them that are going to work against Santos here, or at least should work. Gian hits harder than when we expect him to, and Santos' chin is not bulletproof. He's been rocked on a couple of occasions, and you have to watch for that submission opportunity for Jan Blachowicz as well. And ultimately, I think he gets him down, he grinds him down, he sets up a sub, and my prediction is Jan Blachowicz to defeat Thiago Santos by submission. So those are my 6 main card predictions for UFC Fight Night 145, which will go down in the Czech Republic this Saturday. I'm very excited for this card. I'm looking forward to it. Again, I'm looking to break out of a slump. No time like the present. Thank you very much for tuning in as always. You can follow me at KO_predictions on Twitter. The bet packs are for sale for $15 at kamikazeoverdrive.net. You can also check them out along with my preliminary predictions. And again, lots of MMA coming up. I am looking forward toward the break because I have a lot of things going on in my actual real-world job. This is just a hobby again. And if you have any issues or concerns or comments, please, you can hit me up on Twitter. You can email me through my website. You can comment on YouTube. Again, if you're an asshole, I'm going to delete your comments. It's just not the case. I just don't need it. I don't like the negativity aspect of it. If you do things reasonable, we can discuss, we can talk. But again, all the power to you. Take care, guys, and I'll talk to you soon.